webinars are one of the hottest things out there these days, and it's a great way to introduce people to your programs, to be able to sell online. But we all know there's a lot of work that goes into putting on a webinar. So what if you could automate one of the best lead generation tools on the planet? My guest here today is Geoff Ronning, and he's going to share with us his insights into automating webinars. And hey, let's even dig into a little bit behind the scenes of a software company that is one of the fastest growing companies that I've seen. It's Melanie Benson here, and I'm America's leading small business optimizer. And this weekly podcast is designed to introduce you to people who have all different kinds of businesses so you can figure out what is the mindset, the habits and productivity strategies and business models that are getting the best results out there. And you can figure out how to make your business perform even better. Now, I mentioned that our guest today is Geoff Ronning, and I'm really excited he's here because Geoff is co-founder of one of the hottest automation software systems, Stealth Seminar, and he's known as the Webinar Insider. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona, my former stomping grounds, with his wife, Wendy, who he calls the brains in the family. And I gotta say, I've had some interactions with her. She's pretty freaking smart. And his son, Riddick. So, Geoff, thanks for being here today. And I gotta say, Stealth is one of my favorite automation tools. I love automating anything. I'm all about leverage and using technology to make our lives better. And when I was introduced to Stealth, I was like, oh my God, this is one of the best resources on the planet.
Well, thank you very much. We miss you here. You need to move back.
To Phoenix?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Unless you guys get an ocean that is, just a couple miles away. I'm in big, what is it, Big Surf? Isn't that what they call it? That doesn't count.
Okay.
But my dad does live there
still. It's like the local water park here.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for the nice introduction. And I'm honored that you asked me to be on here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Well,
and I love those pictures in your background.
What's funny is that I actually just wanted to look at them all day, and then when I started doing videos, people are like, "God, that's such a great background," because that's my inspiration wall. I have my rock star, I got my Buddha, I've got the pictures of beaches that I've been to or want to go to. So that's how a little bit of my subconscious inspiration throughout the day.
That's good. That's good stuff to fill your head with.
Yeah. Well, I'm a mindset expert, so I've got to get that get that dialed in right.
Cool.
Yeah. So Geoff, how did you get involved in Stealth? Like, I want to hear the story of how Geoff Ronning got involved in a company like Stealth Webinar.
Sure. It was by accident.
Of course it was. Yeah. The best stories are.
So I was doing. For a lot of years, I was an entertainer, and so I was doing coaching and mentoring to entertainers around the world. Oh. And at that point in time, I just assumed that I would be able to automate webinars. And so, I just started looking for the software that would do it. Mm. And I was shocked that there was no automation software for webinars. And so I thought, well, this will be easy to make. So it kind of took me on this journey of multiple years, tons of developers, that could not do it until I found somebody that could. And so Stealth Seminar, before it was Stealth Seminar, was just used in that business for me. And people were like, hey, I want to use that. And then my wife said, you should charge those people and let them use it.
Smart lady.
Yeah. And so Stealth Seminar came about. I guess it would be now in March of 2010 is when we officially released it to everybody, to other, So that's how Stealth Seminar started. And, it's been a cool, wonderful, awesome ride since then.
Now, funny story about this being an accident for you, because most people who start software companies, it's almost like there's a part of them that's that techie geek, and they're looking for that software that they can sell hundreds of thousands to people every month. But you kind of got into it backwards by simply just looking for a solution that would work for you.
Totally. I got into it purely because I was like banging my head against a wall going, I don't want to give this presentation again. Mm-hmm. It makes me a lot of money, but it's ridiculous. Like, there's no reason, because I've always been into automation. And so I've always loved marketing automation and all that. And it was just kind of out of desperation of not wanting to give the same bloody presentation again.
Yeah.
Because what happens when you do that, first off, it's a real waste of time. But secondly, if you're frustrated by it, or if it's not a good place to come from for a presentation.
Yeah, especially if
So
you're bored with it. Like the
yeah,
audience is
yeah,
going to pick up like, I'm doing this again.
right, exactly. So it's worked out. At that point in time when it was made for me, no idea that it would ever become like a software release to other people.
So it started by you just getting technology that you wanted to make
Correct.
your life easier. And then it worked so well, other people said, hey, I want to use it. And then you guys turned it into a business that you could, let people use the software in exchange for, what is it, $97 a month, something like that?
I think it
67.
started, it's $97 a
Yeah.
month right now, and then it's $70 a month, and that gives you 100 webinars per month with up to 150 attendees. So it kind of depends on what people need for capacity as to
Yeah.
what the fees are.
Got it. Yeah. But I mean, it's a drop in the bucket when you think about what your time is worth.
It's a total drop in the bucket, especially since right now, most people agree with me. There's absolutely no stronger way to sell online than with webinars. So
I would agree.
yeah.
And let's just take a step back for a second, though, because somebody might be saying, well, what does that mean to automate a webinar? And, what exactly does it automate? And let's maybe give people a little bit more of an experience of what Stealth does.
Sure. So Stealth is designed to allow you to, you can do live webinar if you want, or you can automate the webinar. And when you automate a webinar, what you do is you can run the webinar as if it's previously recorded, or you can give your attendees more of a live experience. Now, when you give someone a more live experience, we're doing what's called event marketing, and it's always going to get a much higher satisfaction rate from the attendees and a much more higher conversion rate. It's like today I could get on YouTube and I could watch Tony Robbins for free, or whoever, U2. But in a few days, U2 is going to be down in Phoenix, and there'll be thousands of people down there, and they will have paid an absolute fortune. They will have gotten in their car, traffic, found expensive parking, gone in there and sat in little cramped chairs for that live experience. And so that live experience is very important. So when you automate a webinar, you can automate that and make it a live experience if you so choose. Now you might say, but is that ethical? And, you have to decide your own ethics. For me, I never tell people it's live. Then again, I never tell them it's not. So I let them arrive at their own conclusion, and that for me feels comfortable. So when people go on this webinar, let's say they want an automated webinar for their business. They could be off on vacation. They could be picking up their kids at school. They could be working on other projects. And their prospects or clients could go on their webinar, could get that live experience we were just talking about. They could be interacting by putting in chat comments. They can be taking polls, surveys, downloading, PDFs that you're uploading through all this, and ultimately then converting to either make a purchase, schedule a phone call, maybe take on a new belief, or learn something new that will improve their business. So they get off that event. They have a great appreciation for the person that provided it because, they've had that live experience, and you're developing that rapport with them. You're gaining trust, and there's that law of reciprocity thing working because now you've done something for them, and now they feel like they want to do something with you, which is more than likely continue doing business with you. So
Yeah.
Hope that wasn't too wordy.
No, it gives us all a good sense of it. And why webinars work, is because you are giving people an experience, and then they get to choose, does this experience make me want more or, not? And, one of the things that I love about the automation process is I use Infusionsoft, and I actually get to integrate all of the information that is generated by people enrolling in this webinar. We can automate all of our follow-up emails. We actually can tell, Do people listen to the whole thing? Do they not? And we can set up a whole new sequence of emails to them based on whether or not they completed the webinar. Did they ever show up for the webinar? So I really like this automation feature of being able to connect with my audience and connect with people based on the experience they had with the webinar. So for me, it's great. And, we have the ability to text them, to remind them about the webinar. So there's just a lot of really awesome pieces to this technology that works for me. And we're actually using it in my upcoming launch I have a book called Rewired for Wealth, and we're using that entire process to move people to the next stage, which is going deeper into a training. And I'm just a huge fan. So I'm really glad you were frustrated and needed technology.
Thank you. Yeah. It's so powerful to be able to follow up with people right where they are.
Yes.
Right. And I will, in fact, just recently I got I somehow ended up on a campaign, and they were doing a webinar, and so I've gone through this funnel, only they don't have it set up like you just said.
Right.
And it's so, it's like they're trying to push me through without me having done the first part. And it's so much more powerful to do what you just said, whereas if someone hasn't attended yet or hasn't seen the whole thing, why try and push them,
to the next step, right?
Yeah, it's
right. They're not ready for it. They haven't even gotten the first taste, and so for whatever reason. And by the way, webinars are so popular now that a lot of people sign up for them and then never attend.
Yes.
And so this ability to track, did they attend? Did they not attend? Did they leave early? And have a communication based on their action is a gold mine, especially if you understand the value of taking people to the next step based on what actions they've taken or not taken. And granted, it is a little bit a bigger step to take to develop that, but you don't have to do it all at once.
For sure.
Yeah, you can just go really simple in the beginning.
Yes, you can. You can, you don't even, but yeah.
Now, so. I think the question would come up for people, and maybe you can answer this better than me. Do automated webinars still work well to encourage people to buy or to take the next step, whatever, as well as it would a live webinar?
Most people that I talk to and that are my clients say that the automated webinar works far better than a live. And, the knock on them is that they don't. Most of the clients I have say they work better. And the reason I think they work better is because the clients I have know what they're doing. The people that don't really know what they're doing don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So, when you've got an automated webinar, first off, you can split test everything. So what you're giving people, what you're giving your attendees is the best content you can. You don't have to worry about having a cold. You don't have to worry about being bored of your presentation like you talked about. You don't have to worry about technical issues. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So you've got those aspects. It's like an automated, like just the split testing alone. It's going to be hard for you to come out with a webinar, do it the first time, and knock it out of the park, just like any ad or email.
Sure.
But okay, now let's take that away. Let's forget everything I just said. With an automated webinar, you can also run your webinar as many times as you like. Obviously, with a live webinar, you're really restricted because it says how many times do you want to do it.
Right.
So most of the clients I work with, and me myself, I run webinars at least 12 times a day. So they're going to be running at the top of most hours. Now, they don't look like they're running 12 times a day because that's ridiculous. It'll reduce everything if people think it's just,
too easy
like
to get
video.
on. Yeah.
So when people come to my registration pages, it looks like it's going to be only one time today, and it's the top of the next hour. And so then what you have to ask yourself is, okay, so now we have to compare, okay, automated versus live. How many times are you willing to do that webinar? Okay, for me, I guarantee you. Well, first off, I don't have enough time to do 12 webinars a day for everything that's running. I don't have it. Nor do I have any interest, because building a business to me is all about leverage, and it's about equity and things like that. So then you say, okay, but live I do more. And it's like, okay, so how much are you going to do more? Let's just say you're going to do a little bit percentage more, but you're going to do the webinar um, 5 times this week, whereas with an automated webinar, you could be doing it 12 times a day. So that's a very long-winded answer, but when people know what they're doing, oh, you can't even compare the two, because first off, you got the best presentation you can deliver, and secondly, it's running literally as many times as you want it to run.
Yeah, and so what I took out of that and what I've learned about Stealth is you can actually determine the best frequency to share this webinar, and you give people those options when they sign up. Do you want to go Tuesday or Thursday, or do you want to, you can have it so that there's 3 different times in one day, and you really have to test that a little bit and see, but giving people the experience of a time helps the attendance rate go up. Because they're literally, okay, that's the time I can go, instead of, all right, well, we're only doing it today at 10 a.m. If you can't make it, sorry. And I love that that's one of the features. Geoff, I was just thinking here, you were in the coaching industry, and then you became a software company. And maybe you're still doing both, I don't know. But has that transition been full of a lot of learning curves, and or was that an easy transition for you to go from coaching to software?
Well, now, I don't know anything of a technical nature, really. I'm like not a technical dude.
Yeah.
Like, even like right now, like we're doing Skype. I probably haven't been on Skype 12 times in my entire life. So
I'm the 12th. Yay!
So the software was really not so much about me doing any of the programming or anything.
Mm-hmm, right.
More it was about me going and saying, here's what I want it to do. And when it does this, it can't do this. And when it does this, I don't want it to do that, because that would be, and so it needs to act like this, and it needs to be like, and so all I did was kind of lay out the vision. So it's been an easy transition. In fact, I would say it's even coaching in the webinar field. Like, I had a ton of experience in entertainment. Okay. So I was really successful in that, and a very successful coach in that. But I would say coaching webinars is even easier, because I also have all this data from thousands of events that are running every day. So it's like I have an unfair advantage.
So you could literally take your strengths, running a coaching company, and apply them directly. Because when I don't anticipate you're the techie guy. I know you hire people and have your partner for that, but you're still running a different kind of company that I'm assuming you have to sell this product differently than you sold coaching. You market it differently. And so what I'm hearing you say is it's been pretty easy to make that transition.
Very easy. Yeah.
Cool. I see. Now I thought you would have said, yes, I had to learn this and I had to learn that. So I had a whole new different idea of what you would say there. But so then what has been some of your bigger challenges as an entrepreneur?
I think you're a mindset expert, so you know this. But I remember, I grew up a blue collar kid with a great family, so I'm not saying anything bad about them at all, and love them much, and they did a great job raising us. But when you grow up in certain ways, it's very easy. Even as a kid, I was not a kid that was into like baseball or, things like that. I was reading Think and Grow Rich when I was just, 10, 11, 12, and into the power of the mind and stuff like that. But it's one thing to know all that stuff. It's another to really internally feel like, you know what, I can achieve whatever I want. And when you start to realize that you can achieve whatever you want, then there's always another layer of that. It's like, no, I can't. And so it's like, I would say that, it's just continually working on mindset and understanding that There are no limitations. I mean, it's like and for some people that, are not necessarily real successful right now, it might sound crazy, but, you know, this is not $100 million business, but I have no doubt that I could be making 100 million and probably working less than I'm making right now because it's just another level, right? But
Yeah.
until you get that mindset, until you understand that, until you realize that no, I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now based on what's up here between my ears. So, I would say multiple times I've gone through that. The first time was probably when I was about 26, when I just looked around and I said, wait a minute, you know, I can do whatever the heck I wanted.
Yeah.
And so,
So your mind can be your greatest asset and ally, or it can be your greatest self-destruction weapon, really. Like our minds are really powerful. And I have a similar background in the sense that, I didn't necessarily grow up with a lot of wealth. We grew up with a lot of poverty. So being able to achieve different levels of success always started with me shifting what I saw as possible.
yeah.
And as I was able to go to that next level, you'd think, oh, well, this is what it is. When I got to my first six figures, I was thinking, okay, it's six figures. And I'm like, everything that I know is possible has to change again if I want to get to seven figures. And I love that you brought that up because it's true. Your mind is always going to have to be growing and evolving, and your thinking has to grow with the level of success you want.
Yeah. And, I think it's good to always push yourself, in that way and make yourself a little bit uncomfortable. And, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the book you're talking about coming out, but I'd love to read it, and I'm sure it's awesome because so many people live with such limited beliefs, and they could achieve and have so much more, and it's just kind of sad that we are like that, right? I mean, I'm not, because I think it's just the way we're hardwired. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, we're totally hardwired for comfort.
you
We don't want to be uncomfortable. That doesn't feel good, right? So
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And it's fascinating. So, can we go a little deeper into this mindset thing for a minute?
absolutely. I could talk about it all day.
I knew there's a reason why I liked you. I'm curious, what worked for you? Like, did you turn to coaches? Did you have a particular type of training? Did you read stuff? Like, what worked for you to help expand your mindset to accept new levels of success?
I think I do have a little bit of a process I go through with regards to limited beliefs, and goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, but if I just talk in a general kind of briefer way, I would say, certainly it was reading all those books and understanding that. But it's one thing to read it and understand it. It's another thing to know internally, Um, so I would say getting to the point where I really knew internally and then pushing myself and really spending the time and saying, okay, now is whatever, like, let's take your example of your first six figures. Okay, now, is there any reason why I couldn't do seven figures?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are those reasons? And then sifting them through. There's I would guess you're familiar with like sleight of mouth and stuff like that. So I use a lot of those techniques with regards to combating the limited beliefs and saying, well, how could I achieve that seven figures, or how could I, or who do I know that has the same. I don't know. We might be getting too deep, but
Well,
here's
no, but you're bringing up a really good one because those are all different ways that we teach the brain to think and strategize and see the world differently. I love it.
yeah, yeah. So it's funny because once you start doing those things, your brain will respond appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
It will say, no, there's no way I could ever make six figures. And then all of a sudden, like within a day or two of working on it myself, in my case, I can be going, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that easily. It shifts when you're working on it. and it makes a huge difference. One of the things we do now as a family is we go charter yachts. And so when I first thought about doing that, it was like, holy God, that's expensive. And and but I was really wanting to do that because I knew, okay, but wait, once I get there and once I do it and once I enjoy it, you're right, it's unbelievably expensive, but I'll be stepping up to another level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're creating the external shift in reality, and your internal, because you enjoy it, will have to rise to continue to, deliver that.
That's right. You can't
I love
go out after you do that, it's like you can't think about you can't.
Right. No, I agree.
And so that becomes like the new standard.
Yes.
It's that thing that you were thinking, oh, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Now is like, oh no, we could do nothing less than that. We have to do better than that.
That's why I stay in 4-star hotels.
Yeah.
I was doing this presentation recently, and I don't know, we were talking about environments, because your environment really does have a huge impact and influence over your internal mindset. And so I was making a joke that I can't stay in Motel 6s. Yeah. And everybody cracked up because they got it. It's like, it's just, for me, it makes me feel broke. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just, it's not creating the right energy for me to continue to want to rise and elevate my success. So I totally get that. I think that's a great example.
Yeah. And so the weird part is, by going on the yacht and spending a boatload of money, speaking only for me, or by staying in a nice hotel, or by flying first class or something like that, there's nothing wrong with Coach. There's nothing wrong with the standard trip to wherever,
Tijuana.
There's nothing wrong with those lesser hotels. But if I'm doing the things that we just talked about, I make more money. Mm-hmm. Because it just is like, it's automatic, because I'm surrounded by those better things, and it's like, it just makes it so it's like I'm spending more, but I'm getting way more back in return.
Yeah. It's creating a state of affluence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when you expect to be affluent, you have to create affluence to match that.
Yeah. And the cool part is, when you get there, or when it's like, it's automatic. Like, you don't have to work any harder. You don't have to do anything else. In fact, you're doing better things because you're stretched out in nice surroundings.
I love it. You definitely are giving an example that I love, because that's the way it worked for me. Literally choosing new people to surround myself with, and really elevating my standards for what I drive and where I stay, and just simple things shifted everything for me. And it turned me out. I was struggling to make $1,000 a month for a long time. And it literally elevated my mindset and gave me a whole new way to be, so I could achieve.
Yeah.
It. Okay, Geoff, I got one more question for you before we wrap up, because this is really juicy. We could talk about mindset for weeks. I have a feeling, there's like a glass of wine by a fire pit somewhere where a whole mindset conversation could unfold. But awesome. Let's talk about optimizing.
Okay.
Because, we both know, in order to get really successful in business, you got to figure out what works and then make it work even better. Really find that what many people refer to as a pivot point. Did you have a pivot point that you go, this is it, I got to make this work really good and focus on optimizing it?
Yeah, I think, we always, I would say I'm not techie and I'm not nerdy, but I force myself to look at stats, and I force myself to look at, conversions and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard for me to look inside Google Analytics and not get a headache.
Me too.
but
it's helpful.
I can look at Improvely, which is one of the tools I use, and Optimizely. Mm-hmm. Now, those are not replacements for Google Analytics, but those allow me to do all the testing I need to do. They're very easy. They're simple. And so, we're, continually evolving. And I think, when it comes to this stuff, I think one thing that's really important is to make sure you're not following what you see other people doing. Test it first, and then see if it works for you or if it doesn't.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, don't just do it because we say to do it.
Right.
See if it's going to work for you and your community and your style.
Yep.
Great. So, wrap up. I got to find out, what is the book that inspired you the most on your journey?
I would say the book that inspired me the most would be The E-Myth, and here's why. I read The E-Myth when I was in my early 20s, and at that point in time, I was an entertainer, and I thought, okay, read the book, loved the concept, and thought, this cannot apply to me. And then in my late 20s, I read it again, and I said, I can't believe what an idiot I was just a couple of years ago. Because it totally applied to my business, not in the sense of giving presentations like traditional entertainers think, but in the sense of building a business. And so I would say The E-Myth for that reason, because it was one of those books. I read it one time, it didn't, and then I read it again, and it was like it all clicked for me. And really, the basis of E-Myth is that you need to build a business where the business can run without you. You need to have systems. And so since that time, that's what I've done. I've just built businesses that are really their own entity, that they can run on their own, more or less. They don't need my involvement, and that they could be sold, in fact.
Brilliant.
So,
I love the myth. Talk about mindset. Transform my mindset around how a business can run. Gave me so many new ways to look at things, and it actually kind of activated my already kind of like, I was efficiency brain oriented, and it just gave me ways to channel that efficiency. So I'm glad you brought that one up. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that we got to dig into mindset and hear more about your story and learn about stealth. And, I've always been looking for ways to share stealth with my community. And, I'd love to, if you are somebody doing webinars as a listener today, I'd love for you to check out stealth. I think it could literally transform your business. It'll give you a lot more time. It will absolutely help your participants get a better experience with your webinars. And, like Geoff said, whether you're doing them live or you're pre-recording them, either way, it's a great technology that makes it really easy. And I got to tell you, their customer service rocks. Okay, their customer service rocks. Like, they have saved me so many times, and they're really helpful, and they do a lot of the setup for you, and it just makes it easy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all that.
Yeah, and I've got a link here for you guys if you want to go check out Stealth. And also it's on the blog page if you're here on the blog, so you guys can head on over and see what Stealth is all about and give it a whirl. I think you're going to find that it's really helpful for your business, and especially if you're looking for more ways to automate your time. Geoff, any last words you want to share with everybody?
No, I don't think so. I wish them all much success, and I thank you very much. I'm honored that you invited me on to your video today, and it's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks. And so if you guys are listening on iTunes Radio or Stitcher Radio or somewhere besides the blog and you want to come join in the conversation, head on over to melaniebensonstrick.com. I'd like to know, are you using automation? Do you have your own automation tools that you're excited about? Is there one that you want me to find out about and bring onto the podcast? And what's something that you can put into action from today's show? You can share it right here at melaniebensonstrick.com on the blog. All right, we'll see you guys all again next week with another really powerful insight and strategy to help you make your business perform better. Thanks again, Geoff. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.